Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, and today I want to dive into the mess that is Path of Exile 2's economy right now. It's not looking great, folks, and I'm going to break down exactly why that is and what I think grinding gear games, GG, needs to do to stop these issues from spiraling out of control. So let's jump right in. But first, if you guys enjoyed the video and would like to support the channel, please give a like and a subscribe. Now that's out of the way, let's move on. GGG is throwing a ton of experiments into Path of Exile 2 at the moment. We're talking item scarcity tweaks, stat overhauls, one death maps, no life nodes on the passive tree, league mechanic changes, in-game farming adjustments, map redesigns. The list goes on. It's a lot to take in. Now, on the surface, this is awesome. Early access is the perfect time to mess around with wild ideas. It's basically a beta phase. Nothing's set in stone yet. They can afford to stumble, learn from the flops, and tweak things without major consequences. Wipe the economy, reset characters, start fresh. No big deal. But here's the problem. Some of these experiments, while cool in theory, are clashing in ways grinding gear games probably didn't see coming. The result? A shaky economy that's frustrating players. After digging into it, I've pinpointed 4 major issues that I think are dragging things down. Let's break them apart one by one and then talk solutions. First up, issue number 1. There just aren't enough reliable ways to farm currency. Think about Path of Exile 1 for a second. Expedition lets you trade with 2 gen for steady profits, and even the Chaos recipe, while slow and unglamorous, gave you a baseline. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. In Path of Exile 2, not so much. Right now, the only real option is stacking item rarity, hunting down rare monsters, and praying they drop divines or exalts. So how do you maximize rare spawns? Breaches, obviously. That's the meta. Stack rarity, pop breaches, cross your fingers. It's too narrow, too RNG dependent, and it leaves most players scrambling. That brings me to issue number 2. Why do we even farm currency? Simple. To craft or trade for solid gear. With all these experiments GGG's running, you'd think finding or making decent items would be easier, reducing the need for raw currency drops. But that's not happening. I've looted plenty of tier 4 and 5 rares, and guess what? Most of them are trash, straight to the vendor. The tiering system sounds neat on paper, but it feels disconnected from what we're actually picking up. I've sunk hours into ritual and the new expedition crafting, and my rewards? Pathetic. My best ritual item? A mediocre piece with 3 weak suffixes and a so-so life roll. Maybe worth 1 exalt if I squint. And expedition? I crafted a no modifier expert scalper's jacket. Woohoo. Total waste of time. Crafting with exalted orbs isn't much better. It's not even a gamble, it's just throwing currency into a void. There's no real crafting system yet, and while I get that it's coming later, its absence stings right now. Moving on to issue number 3. League mechanics take way too long to pay off. You have to grind to the end game, then sink dozens, sometimes hundreds, of hours into a mechanic just to unlock Atlas passives that make it remotely efficient. That's backwards. Progression should feel rewarding from the start, not like a second job. And then there's issue number 4. The non-league extras, like shrines, essences, and strong boxes, are basically pointless. Shrines are cute, sure, a little quality of life sprinkle, but they don't move the needle. Essences? Total RNG chaos, useless for crafting. Strong boxes? They're a comedy show. You sit there for literal minutes opening them, chasing stragglers, and for what? My best haul was 2 exalts. 2? I could have napped and made more progress. These mechanics take up space on the tree but deliver almost nothing. Alright, enough griping, let's talk fixes. Solution number 1, gut item rarity on gear. I'm talking a full removal or at least a massive nerf, like 90%. This idea's got huge support, probably 90% of players agree. But there's a vocal 10% who love their rarity stacking. Right now, a min-maxed breach juicer with rarity gear can pull in 10, 20, even 100 times more currency than someone casually clearing tier 15 maps. That gap's insane. Worse than Path of Exile 1's quantity stacking ever was. But here's the catch. Nerfing rarity alone won't cut it. Everyone would just end up broke. Path of Exile 1 thrived because farming currency was fun and varied. Think Heist, Delve, or Betrayal. In Path of Exile 2, we need that diversity back. Shift rarity and quantity to maps or tablets, sure, but pair it with new, reliable ways to farm items and currency beyond rare monster hunting. Solution number 2, overhaul the Atlas progression for League mechanics. I mapped out a plan when early access dropped. I wanted to test how bad farming in-game bosses for Atlas points would be. Spoiler, it's brutal. I've logged 200 hours across 2 characters, mostly in tier 15s and up, and it's a slog. Breach is slow. I've killed Zesht a few times, wiped a couple more, so 4 breach stones total. But the others, expedition logbooks, I've seen Allroth once and cakewalk honestly. Ritual, I've dumped hours into it and gotten squat. Simulacrum splinters, I'm at 125, barely 40% to my first run. At this rate, I'd finish my 4th simulacrum by June 2025, maybe August if I brick one. That's absurd. Here's my fix. Model Atlas progression after ascendancies. Early maps. Do 1 breach, get 2 points. Mid-tier. Run 5 or 10 breaches. Grab 2 more. Late game. Kill the boss for the 3rd pair. Then max difficulty for the final 2. Same deal for Delirium, Expedition, Ritual, whatever. It keeps the endgame challenge but turns the grind into days, not months. I actually like Delirium's vibe in PoE 2. It's fun, just stingy with splinters. Breach is overtuned but solid. The rest need work. We could make League mechanics more rewarding. Breach is the gold standard right now. It spawns a ridiculous number of monsters, like 200 times more than the others. I'm not counting, but it feels that way. It's got farming, monsters galore, and crafting, catalyst breach rings, a good foundation. Expeditions crafting went from 2-gen trading to oops, all ROG, which I'm fine with. Endless trading was dull, but the crafted items are garbage. Fix? Add expedition-only mod ranges. Think +3 arrows on bows or 40% move speed on boots. Supercharge the tiers to make the grind worthwhile. And in maps, crank up rarity on expedition monsters and chests by 400 to 500%. They're decent mechanically, just unrewarding. Delirium's in a good spot. It could use more splinters and fewer annoying immune monsters, but it's solid for juicing. Ritual, though, absolute trash. No consolation prizes like Path of Exile 1 vessels, just bad gear and the occasional exalt every 5 maps. Omens could help, but they're so rare, they're just a jackpot for the rich. Fix it by drowning us in crafting omens. Make them common, usable, not a luxury. Add fragments for boss keys too. Whole keys can stay, but let us build toward them instead of pure RNG. We could fix crafting and essences. Essences are a relic of Path of Exile 1 spam crafting days, where you could re-roll until you hit gold. In Path of Exile 2, with no scouring or spamming, they're a mess. Limit their guaranteed mod to the top 2 or 3 tiers for the item's level, say 36% cold res minimum on an item level 82 ring, not 7%. Greater essences. Top 2 tiers. It keeps bases relevant, cuts the RNG nonsense, and makes crafting feel fair. Broader fix, tie mod tiers to item levels across the board. Pinnacle boss drops shouldn't roll the same as Act 1 junk, it's demotivating. Wrapping up, these changes could turn Path of Exile 2's economy around. One thing I skipped earlier, new League mechanics. They'll come eventually, but grinding gear games needs to nail the current ones first. A strong base now means better additions later. Personally, I'm crossing my fingers for Blight next. It'd fit perfectly. Anyway, that's my take. Thanks for sticking around. Drop your thoughts below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.